Come on, girl, let's scream.
I am a god.
No, please don't kill me, Mr. Ghostface. I want to be in the sequel. This is the part where you run.
Come on, scream.
Hello, and welcome to Let's Scream, a podcast where we dive into our favorite horror movies. I'm Parker.
And I'm Stevie.
Today we are looking at 2022's Nope, directed by Jordan Peele.
Join us as we journey to Jupiter's claim and learn all about Jean Jacket.
Are you ready to scream, girl?
Come on, girl, let's
scream. Okay, so Nope.
This is the last film in Jordan Peele
Peele
June. Give it up for Jordan Peele June, everybody. Give it up for Jordan Peele June.
I've had so much fun going through his movies.
I have too.
If you haven't listened to our Get Out episode with Charlie, go listen to it. If you haven't listened to our Us episode with Keaton, go listen to it. They're both great. And yeah, Nope, I really enjoy. It's another Jordan Peele movie that knocked it out of the park for me. Yeah,
I like this one. It is probably of my three my least favorite.
Okay,
I'm gonna be real. I like this one. I think it goes on a little too long, but you made a good point on why it is the length it is, because this movie, once you said that it's supposed to be very reminiscent of Jaws, it very much is, because I do agree with that.
It's Jaws in the sky.
Like, absolutely. Because, like, the first half is when, like, the real kind of, like, horror aspects happen.
Yeah, and then it becomes, like, an action adventure.
And then it becomes an action adventure.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Which is very much... And I would love to do Jaws. We need to do Jaws sometimes. Because I do love Jaws. But.
Yeah, me too. But, yeah, this is Jordan Peele's homage to the big Hollywood summer blockbuster movies.
Yeah.
So, which... we need it. I mean, like, this came kind of in a post-pandemic world.
And people weren't really going to movies anymore,
no one
because
was going to
everyone
movies.
so many films were being just rentable.
Mm-hmm.
So people were just staying home and renting, which is still, like, kind of a thing, but it's kind of now going back more to, like, stuff's releasing in theaters. But it's not staying in theaters as long.
Yeah, the pandemic changed a lot, but definitely this movie was the first, probably one of the first movies I saw in the theater after the pandemic. I remember, and this was there was so much hype for it. Like, I remember the first time you and I saw a movie where the trailer for this movie played.
I don't know which movie it was
during
that
the
we saw, though.
But it's such a good trailer. You think this movie was marketed as like a straight up like alien movie.
Yeah.
But Nope is so much more than that, and it subverts every expectation you would have of it.
Yeah.
And it also had a huge budget. I mean, this movie was a spectacle, and it was done very deliberately so, because the whole theme of this movie is spectacle.
Yes.
So, which we'll, dive into when we get into the plot. But it has a lot to say about exploiting things and what we do for fame and for power.
Yeah. And recognition.
So, yeah, I love the cast in this one. We get a reappearance of Daniel Kaluuya. He's playing our main character yet again, OJ, and he's just brilliant. Once again, he turns out a fabulous performance where he shows a lot of range. And we were talking about this earlier. It's a completely different character than his character Chris in Get Out.
Get Out,
yeah.
Absolutely. Which is, I'm glad to see, because especially when, like, an actor works with the same director, sometimes they play the same character.
Yeah, but this is a completely different... Yeah. Keke Palmer. Baby, that's Keke Palmer.
Baby, this is Keke Palmer. This is motherfucking Keke Palmer. Please have a good day.
That's Keke Palmer. Oh, she was booked and busy. So, I mean, she always is, but, like...
Yeah, she's always working. Keke Palmer, like, is one of my all-time faves. I fucking love Keke Palmer.
She's so good in this.
She was True Jackson VP.
And True Jackson VP and her character Emerald in this, completely different people.
Right. And
The Range.
She was Aquila in The Bee.
She was... Oh, and that movie won so many Oscars in my house.
Me too. That one was so good. But I think, like, out of all the Jordan Peele movies, I still am going to have to say what I said when we did our Get Out episode.
Yeah, that's your favorite.
Get Out is my fave. And then Nope and Us are both like on the same level, like, but just slightly below Get Out.
Yeah.
I like them both for different reasons, but Get Out to me is the tightest.
I agree with that,
Mm-hmm.
but I still think my favorite is Us. I just love Us. I think it's so fun.
Hey, I think all three movies are so good that I
Yeah.
could see an argument being made for
All of them, absolutely.
any ranking.
This one definitely is the least horror.
It's very actiony.
Yeah.
And the thing that I can say about it is that it subverts every expectation that you possibly could have. It was marketed as aliens, and bitch, it couldn't be farther than that, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely don't spoil this one because there's some fun little surprises, and it just kind of, again, subverts all the expectations and is a really fun watch and a really fun rewatch too.
Yeah.
Just like all of his films are. So, yeah, I would definitely recommend Nope. And is there anything else that we want to say before we get into the
I think
plot?
this is the longest of the three. Us might be a little bit
Yeah.
longer, but this one, I'm going to be real, I kind of felt it.
This one is like over 2 hours for sure.
And
yeah.
it feels
And you
that
can
way.
feel it.
And listen, it's just a me thing. I don't like movies that are over 2 hours.
And that's fair.
It's really hard for me to get into them. They have to be really, really good for me to get into them. Because
Yeah.
there's some I will do. But like some, it's just like a chore. This one was not a chore, and I don't want it to sound like I know I just made it sound like it was. This one was not.
Compared
but
to the other two.
the other two.
I see what you mean.
Because Get Out is like, that one's like an hour and a half, 45.
That's why I think Get Out's my fave. It's the tightest one. But this one was so good in theaters too. Like, again,
you
this
saw it
was
in
such
theaters.
a
I did not.
spectacle. And yeah, it's long because it reminds me of those big summer blockbusters that are kind of long like that. I mean, it's all done very intentional to evoke that spectacle.
Yeah.
Definitely recommend it. And at this point,
I think we're just going to get into it.
Yeah,
I don't
so-
really have much more to say. I will also... Well, sorry. I think the other thing I'll say is I don't think this one, the theming-wise, is as strong as the other two. Like, I think it does a good job of showing the themes. I just don't really... The themes, I just don't care for.
you don't connect with as much.
As much. I think the other ones are more relevant to what's kind of going on in like the world and the times we're in, whereas this one it does but not as much, or I guess it's more of something that I'm like, I don't really care.
The theme is not the biggest focus. It's not as much of a focus as it was in his other two movies.
Yes, that too.
But yeah, okay, anything else you want to add?
No.
I'm ready to get into it? All right,
get
so
into it.
if you've never seen Nope, pause this podcast and go watch it because we are getting ready to dive into the plot. So at this point, we will be giving out spoilers. All right, girl, are you ready to scream?
Yep. Let's scream.
Let's scream. Okay, so
like over all of the like film like production intros, like of it going through like a production company, we hear a cheesy sitcom.
like very 90s. It was very like Full House.
Yes.
Kind of
We hear them
vibes.
giving a character named Gordy a gift. And then we hear a pop. And then it cuts to a title card saying, I will cast abominable filth at you, make you vile, and make you a spectacle, which is, I believe, a Bible verse.
Yeah, this Bible quote is basically a summation of what is going to happen in this movie. And the word spectacle we're going to be saying a lot because that's a huge aspect to this story.
Yep.
Then we see the aftermath of what is clearly a chimpanzee attack who's gone crazy. We see the legs of one of his victims sticking out from behind the couch, and it's a big bloody mess, and her shoe is standing up completely straight on the heel, like in a really like impossible position. It's like just very weird coincidence that it were to land like this. And we're seeing from the point of view of somebody hiding behind a table or underneath a table, and the chimp turns and looks straight at the camera, which is very unnerving.
Is actually based off of like a real event that happened.
Well, we'll get into it, but this is definitely Jordan Peele definitely like based this off of a real occurrence. And chimpanzees freak me out. They're so scary.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
Monkeys are not, like, fun animals. Listen, I don't fuck with, like, wild animals like that. Like, I love animals. I don't, like, fuck with them like that, like jungle animals.
Yeah, well, that's a huge aspect to this story. And part of the theme is, should we really be trying to tame all these wild animals when their instinct is being predatorial?
Yeah.
But yeah, so keep that in mind going forward. We're going to cut now to this ranch. It's the Haywood family's ranch out in like this beautiful valley in California. And we learned that this is a horse ranch and that the family trains these horses for movies and TV.
Yes.
They're actor horses. And they have this spinner device called the runner that they use to make sure the horses get exercise.
Yeah.
And the dad, Otis Sr. is his name, is talking to Otis Jr., who's played by Daniel Kaluuya. And he's like, where's your sister? She's supposed to be here helping us. And he goes, here, let me text her. He gets out his phone and is trying to get a hold of his sister. All of a sudden, his phone just completely shuts off, even though it was on full battery. And then the spinner, the like electric device they were using for the horses, that just shuts off. And he's like, what the fuck? You also hear this weird sound effect, this kind of wailing. We don't really know what it is yet, but it's coming from somewhere in the sky. And we get this shot of the camera panning around OJ. And we also hear the sound of things like
falling and like...
Yeah, like plummeting from the sky. And he turns over and he notices that his dad, who was looking up at the sky on top of his horse, is now all hunched over. And then he falls off the horse.
Because the horse gets hit with something and it just runs off. And so then...
And the dad falls off and OJ has to drive him to the emergency room. And there is blood gushing out everywhere. So like he must have been hit in the eye from something that fell from the sky. So yeah, he's just gushing blood. It's really graphic. And he's saying the names of the horses so that like to keep him like alert, to like make sure that he like is still alive. And it seems that by the time that they get to the emergency room, his dad died. We see his body there. He has a big gash in his eyeball.
And he got hit with a quarter.
Yeah, it was, or a nickel.
It's a nickel.
We see the x-ray, and a nickel had flown out of the sky and landed right into his eyeball.
It killed him.
And OJ comes home, and he's got blood all over his shirt. He's completely shell-shocked and just full of grief, having witnessed his dad dying. And he notices that the horse that his dad was riding is also impaled with a key, like a car key, that in its rear that had also must have plummeted out of the sky. So that's our intro. It's very upsetting. Then we get this really cool opening credits as the camera pans through this long, spooky, I don't even know how to describe it, but it was like a weird chute or something. You can't really tell what it is, but later we'll be able to deduce what we're looking at, basically. But you hear these, like, again, creepy, like, wails and stuff. It's very unnerving. And it zooms through, and the end of the opening credits, it fades to this vintage film of, it's the first film ever taken, and it's of this black man riding a horse,
and it's just a repeated sequence. It's like 2 seconds long.
And then we get to OJ, who is now on his own without his dad, trying to run the horse business, and he has a horse, Lucky, on set for a commercial, but he is very nervous and shy. Again, this is very opposite from his character in Get Out.
Yeah.
Because OJ is not as confident as Chris.
Oh,
he definitely has mad social anxiety. And all of these, like, PAs and, like, TV people are, like, trying to rush him, basically. They're like, well, is the horse ready?
He's like, no, we're waiting on my sister still, so,
Yeah.
like, don't worry, like, she'll be here soon.
And they're like, okay, but there's this cinematographer, Antler Holst is his name.
Yeah.
And he's apparently super famous, and it's just, like, not a good look that they have to keep him waiting so long.
Yeah.
And there's also this blonde actress, and they tell her that his name is OJ, and she goes, your name is OJ? Which is really funny.
He's, like, so scared about it.
Again, Jordan Peele is so funny. Like, he interjects so much great humor into these movies. And yeah, so he keeps pissing on these TV people off. So he starts to kind of try and give the safety spiel that his sister's supposed to give.
Yeah.
But he is a flop. They're like, what'd you say? He's like, finally, Keke motherfucking Palmer comes in
Emerald.
at the last minute, running late as hell to save the day. And Keke Palmer, I mean, she is... she's so charismatic. Is there anything she can't fucking do? She immediately...
You know what? Be untalented.
I guess, yeah. Because
Be unbooked.
So good. Right.
Be unemployed, because she's always employed.
The other thing she can't do is take a break for herself.
Jesus. She had a baby and was immediately like, okay, I gotta go back into, like, I gotta do something.
Yeah, I swear, she's the hardest working woman in show business. And she comes in, her name is Emerald, and she gives us this speech. She goes, hi, my name is Emerald, that's OJ, and we are your animal wranglers today with Haywood Hollywood horses. So now, did you know that the very first assembly of photographs in sequential order to create a motion picture was a 2-second clip of a black man on a horse? Yes, it was. Yes, it was. Now, some of y'all know Edward Muybridge, the grandfather of motion pictures, is who took the pictures that made that clip. But does anyone know the name of that black jockey that rode the horse? Nope. The first ever stuntman, animal wrangler, and movie star rolled up into one, and there's almost no record of him. That man was a Bohemian jockey that went by the name of Alistair E. Haywood, my great-great-grandfather. And OJ goes, great. And she goes, there's another great in there. So, that's why over at the Haywood Ranch, as the only black-owned horse trainers in Hollywood, we always like to say, since the moment motion pictures could move, we had skin in the game. And the one producer's like, ha. Let's discuss some of the safety precautions while we're on set, shall we? So 1, please refrain from loud noises, sudden movements, and keep your cell phone ringers off. That'd be appreciated. 2, if you see something that looks unsafe for anyone, please alert myself, OJ, or your next chain in command. And 3, let's have a good shoot. Oh, and I'm Emerald Haywood. I also act, write, direct. I also do a little singing on the side. Motorcycles, you name it, baby. I also make a mean grilled cheese if you're ever looking for crafty. I'll be over there. Just holler at me. And I just love it because just in that one little intro, like, you get everything you need to know about this character. Like, she is just... I would vibe the fuck with Emerald.
Oh, yeah.
She's cool.
She has her vape.
Yeah, she's always vaping.
She always got her vape on hand.
Always vaping. And the TV producers continue to rush OJ.
Yeah.
And they're like, can you tell the horse we're ready? As if, like, the horse can speak English.
Yeah.
And they stick this big reflective spear in front of the horse. Which apparently is, like, used for lighting, I guess.
And it freaks the horse out.
Yeah, because the horse sees its eyeball in its reflection. And there's a lot of eye contact is, like, a big aspect in this movie is not making eye contact with, like, a predator kind of thing.
Yeah.
And so the horse gets really spooked. It bucks this makeup artist. She's carrying, like, a tray of makeup, and it, like, knocks out of her hand and sends powders over, and it freaks everybody out.
Rule number 1 with horses: never stand behind a horse.
Yeah.
Never stand behind a horse.
And everyone freaks out, and so, yeah, they're like, okay, you can go home. We won't be needing the horse anymore. We see they're bringing in a green screen horse, which I thought was funny. But OJ's really disappointed because he's trying to carry out the legacy that his father created with this, like, big business. And on their way home, we kind of get the vibe for the dynamic between him and Emerald. And that's OJ, like, really wants to do his father proud. He really wants to sustain the business. Emerald does not give a fuck. She wants to move on from farm life. she wants to do her own shit. She wants to act. She wants to sing. She wants to produce, you know. And there's definitely tension between them. And you can tell that they were never, like, that close. And especially since the dad died, they're really not close.
Yep.
And they stop at this local attraction called Jupiter's Claim.
And this is cute. It's like a cowboy western, like kind of think like Disney, but they were all cowboy western.
Yeah,
and it was really cool. And
it's like a Frontierland.
Yes,
in Disney. Yeah.
Yes. And there's this really cool like wishing well device that takes pictures, and Kiki's like looking at it when these kids are using it. And she's like, oh shit. She didn't realize it was the pictures. And they were like kind of laughing along. Like,
and she's like, photobomb!
She's like, I'm so sorry, photobomb! And they're like laughing along. It was cute.
Yeah.
You can tell she's like having a fun time.
And one of the gift shops I noticed was called Parker's Gift Shop. I was like, that's your name!
That's your name!
So I own that gift shop.
And we see that OJ is there because they're selling horses.
Yeah.
Which you assume is probably for like, they probably have like horse rides or something.
Oh, yeah.
We assume.
Right.
We'll get into it. But he sold like 10 horses.
Yeah, and Emerald's kind of like, what the fuck? And he's like, don't worry, I'm going to try and like buy him back. Like, I'm working out a deal to where I can get him back. And she's like, well, don't you think that's kind of a liability? And he's like, no, you're a liability because what are you doing promoting your side gigs on the job? And she goes, listen, motherfucker, this is my side gig.
She calls him motherfucker so much in this movie.
I know.
It's amazing.
She's great. You can tell Keke, they kind of gave her, like, a light script. But they were like, you can interject any of your personality into
Just
this.
do it. They're like, here's the gist of what you gotta do.
And she's so funny. Which, by the way, if you've never seen Keke Palmer play The Sims, she is so funny. Like, the way, like, she has her Sims interact with each other, and she, like, she makes up, like, whatever the conversation they might be having. It's so funny.
I love that.
I know.
And then they go into a meeting with the owner of Jupiter's what's it called?
Jupiter's Claim.
Jupiter's Claim. And it's former child star Jupe, who was in a lot of shows, but most importantly, he was in
the show called Kid Sheriff.
Oh yeah, Kid Sheriff was his first one.
His breakout.
His breakout.
And that's what this whole park is themed around.
And this is really funny because he has this whole like wall, like shrine dedicated to his like past, like his past career, and he's like going through all of it. Emerald, she's like, oh, this is so cool. Look at all this memorabilia. And OJ's like,
she goes, wait, are you the Asian kid from Kid Sheriff? And he's like, yep, that's me. And she was like, oh, I loved you growing up.
What happened to the black kid from that? She like sees that. She's like, whatever happened to him?
And I think I will say that this conversation kind of ties into the theme because this movie's a lot about like how Hollywood treats people and the film industry. And so like this kind of tokenism I think is intentionally pointed out here because it is kind of fucked up that like Hollywood tends to refer to the people as, oh, the black guy from this, the Asian kid from this. Yeah. But yeah, OJ is gonna sell the horse Lucky to Jupe. He's so hot, by the way, Jupe, this actor. What's his name?
Andrew Young.
Yeah. Hi, listeners. This is Parker. I'm editing this podcast right now. And I just realized that we misnamed this actor. His name's not Andrew Young. It's Stephen Young. We fucked up. Sorry. Our bad. Okay, moving on. He's so fine.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my God. What was he in?
Walking Dead.
Walking Dead. Thank you.
He's so cute. He is so fun.
So
cute.
And I love his costumes in this movie.
Yes.
Really cool cowboy outfit.
He always looks so cute. Because I love a cowboy.
Yeah.
More cowboy porns. You know what?
Girl, I second that. So OJ is like, okay, yeah, I can sell you this horse, but is there any way, by the way, that I could buy these horses back from you at some point? And Jupe goes, yeah. But he's hesitant to say that. So that's suspicious, right? M, like, notices, she's looking through the memorabilia in his office. She notices this, it's like a Mad magazine.
Of, like, a monkey, like a chimpanzee. I keep saying monkey, and monkeys and chimps are two different things, so sorry.
Yeah, it's a chimp. It's
chimpanzee.
It's a chimpanzee named Gordy. And this magazine cover is parroting a moment that she recognizes from pop culture. She's like, oh, isn't this when that monkey went crazy?
Like, father told me about this.
Told me that this... And OJ's like, yeah, that's why you're not allowed to use chimps anymore in, like, animal acting.
Yeah.
Or whatever. They won't let you use chimps because of that incident. And Jupe is like, well, do you guys want to see something cool? And he shows them this secret room that he has full of memorabilia from Gordy's home, which was the show that he shot, wherein the chimp on set went crazy.
He said it was 6 minutes and 13 seconds of pure chaos.
Pure chaos. And 6 minutes and 613.
And
that number is constantly being brought up in this movie. It's like the number 11 in Us.
And it's one of those things where it became this huge, like, pop culture cult following spectacle, which is kind of, like, very reminiscent of what we see kind of, like, with, like, murders and, like...
Oh, all kinds of shit.
True crime shit, where people get...
Anytime there's a big tragedy,
people
it
love
becomes
to
a spectacle that becomes exploited.
And that's what... Because he then starts talking to them, like, they're like, oh, we don't really know about it. He's like, have you not seen the SNL skit about it?
Yeah.
Oh, they got it perfectly. Or, like, and he just keeps... And, like...
He describes this, and it was...
there's a point where he's just...
Sherry O'Terry and Chris Kattan.
Yeah.
Which, that's such a specific era of SNL.
He starts, like, describing it and, like, their performances, but, like, there's a moment where, like, he kind of pauses and you hear him, like, as a child, like, screaming.
Yeah.
So it's, like, a moment where you're like, oh my god, this dude's, like, fucking traumatized by this. But he's obsessed with the, like, spectacle it's become and, like, the recognition he's gotten.
Yeah, he said that he lets people... Or there was a couple that paid $50K to spend the night in this
secret room.
And he said, I didn't even ask any questions. Which, like, I mean, fair.
Yeah, I mean, like,
50K
oh my god,
is
somebody
50K.
was like, can I give you $50K to stay at your house for a night? Dude,
Okay.
what fucking ever. Yeah, hell yeah.
But yeah, this room is cool. It has, like, a big, like, mannequin of the chimp wearing the little Gordy's Home shirt. And it also, he has on display that shoe of the girl who was getting mauled. It's, like, propped up exactly like how he saw it, sitting on, like, straight up.
Yeah.
And he's going on about this SNL sketch, and I get this feeling that because he's so traumatized from what happened,
this is how he kind of has to...
This is how he remembers it, is through this SNL
and how he kind of has to cope with it.
Is through, like, the kind of humor.
The humor, right?
Yeah.
Oh, it was kind of funny. Like, people thought it was funny.
Which, like, Chris Kattan played a character called Mr. Peepers on SNL.
Yeah.
And that's literally how I imagined that sketch would be. It was just, like, him, like, doing his impression of, like, Mr. Peepers, yeah. But, yeah, it's really weird. Emerald goes, well, damn, man, I'm going to have to look that one up on YouTube.
She's like, you can tell they're both kind of like,
oh,
okay.
I
regret
Are
asking
you sure
any
that you're good, dude? Like, you seem, like, really haunted.
You seem fucked up, if you ask me. But
so that night, we also learned that Jupe offered to buy their whole ranch from them. And Emerald calls OJ a dumbass for not taking up his offer. And he's like, well, you're a dumbass. And I love their bickering.
Yeah. Oh, it's such a good sibling dynamic.
They really feel like real siblings.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I just love the dialogue between them. And their relationship is the heart of this movie, 100%. Like, you really care about this brother and sister and what is going to happen to their relationship by the end of the movie. It's such a good depiction of what happens to a family when a loss... Like if you lose a parent or if you lose another sibling, like how that is going to affect the dynamic of the rest of the family.
Yeah.
And I think he does a really good job exploring that here. It's like some of my favorite parts in this movie.
Yes, absolutely.
So like in this moment, they're like bickering the shit out of each other. But then there's this moment where they're like, you know what, let's just stop fighting and let's raid the dad's liquor cabinet and get high together. And it's clear they really do miss each other. Miss spending time with each other. Because... I mean, Emerald's never around anymore. They talk about it. She didn't even know that Jupiter's Claim, the theme park, had become Jupiter's Claim. She didn't realize there was a rebranding. She remembered it as, like, the Gold Rush or something.
Yeah.
And apparently it's been Jupiter's Claim for, like, years now. So she's just not been around.
Yeah.
So they're taking this time to bond, and they're talking about the dad. They're, like, remembering him. And she reveals that she harbors some resentment towards the dad because
Yeah.
he was just a very stubborn man, and he would do shit that would piss her off a lot.
Yeah.
She recounts this time that there was a horse that they were training called Jean Jacket.
And she was supposed to train that horse. But
That was going to be her horse. And she loved that horse. But apparently they got this gig, and so they ended up needing to use the horse for that gig.
Yeah, and so she didn't
get to do it. And she distinctly remembers this memory of standing at the window and
watching them train the horse.
she's like, you were training my horse. And that pissed me off. And we get this flashback of young OJ looking up at her through the window, and he gives the like I'm watching you hand motion.
He like puts his fingers up to his eyes and then points right at her.
Which is something that they do together.
Yeah.
It's
We'll see it again.
OJ says
What I liked is when she was like, I've been going to see a therapist. He's like, you guys are a therapist? She's like, yeah, I've been fucking one sometimes.
Yeah. And she's happy pride, by the way.
Yes, she's such a
Emerald,
lesbian.
because she is like explicitly queer in this movie.
Oh,
I
like
love it.
fully. There's
Yeah.
a funny moment we'll get to where she like
She's flirting
with
yeah,
somebody
she's
that
always
she walks
flirting with
by in a
chicks.
store.
I love her.
It's
yeah.
really good. It's a really fun
Can we
moment.
talk about her outfits too? Like, oh my god, I
She looks so
loved
cute.
her wardrobe in this
Happy
movie.
Pride Month, everyone.
Yeah, happy Pride to
To
Miss
Emerald.
And OJ says, and you know what's fucked up about that whole thing? They didn't even
They use camels for
use
that
horses.
movie.
They ended up going with camels because it was for the Scorpion King. And OJ's like, yeah, our dad was, he says, that man was hard-headed as fuck, but he clearly loved his job, and you know what, I can't let go all that he's worked for with this whole business. Kiki's looking out the window, and she goes, why is Ghost in the arena? And Ghost is this white horse that is randomly just out chilling in that little
the
fenced off
fence and arena. It's,
area.
the arena. It's the big circular
with that device that trains the horses. So OG goes out to check on him, and this is the part of the trailer where Emerald puts on the record player and she starts dancing, and I love the way Kiki's her little shuffle that she's doing. But he's out there checking on the horse, and the horse is fixated on something out in the distance. And then it just jumps out of the arena and runs away.
Yeah.
And OJ follows it down to Jupe's theme park, where we can hear Jupe rehearsing for his new show, like over the loudspeakers.
Yeah.
But then the power goes out, and then we hear a weird whooshing sound up in the clouds. Suddenly, the power in their farmhouse goes off, and Emerald's music turns off, and she's like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
And then we see a huge flying saucer pass through the clouds up above. And OJ is like shook and goes to tell Emerald what he saw. And she's like, well, where's Ghost? And he's like, I have no idea. Ghost is nowhere to be found. And he says, what's a bad miracle? You got a name for something like that? And at first she's like, no, doesn't believe him. But she very quickly is like, oh, I believe you.
Yeah.
You must have seen like a UFO.
Yeah.
And then we literally can
Which I
almost...
also love with Jordan Peele movies. He never does this shit of like, I don't believe you. That's not true.
Yes!
He's always just like, no, I make the characters believe them.
Believe each other.
Which
And
is
I
just
think
good.
that's
I think-
so relieving.
Because it's also kind of like, for me, it just reminds me of like when you do like improv. It's like, you never say no in improv.
Yeah. And it moves
Say
the
no,
story
it's-
along. And
yeah.
we also, it's so tired in scary movies to have the cliche of, oh,
I don't believe you,
I don't
but then they
believe
get
you.
killed.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, Emerald believes him, and we can almost immediately see the light bulb go up in her head. We see dollar signs in her eyes,
Yes.
basically. And then we cut to them parked outside Fry's Electronics and talking about how they need to get
Fry's Electronics, everyone.
I do, because there was one here.
Yeah.
And I loved that store. And they're all themed differently. And the one that they're at in this movie is themed like outer space. It has like a big alien spaceship like statue in the front, which is really cool. And she's like, yeah, we need to get a fucking picture of this thing or a video. And she immediately develops this plan of, we're going to get footage of the UFO. We're going to get rich and famous for life. We got to sell this shit to Oprah. And she keeps talking like...
They bring up Oprah. She's like,
Yeah.
we gotta get the Oprah shot.
The Oprah shot is like the whole thing. And yeah, she flirts with that hot girl going into Fry's.
Yeah, she's like, how you doing? You look beautiful
She's
today."
like, hey, beautiful. Anyway, so yeah, we need to get the Oprah shot. Then we got this twink. His name is Angel.
He has a twink?
Oh, I would classify him as a twink. Yeah.
Is he gay?
Well, no.
Oh, okay. But he's a twink.
But he's a twink. And he's got frosted tips. And he's like taking the job really seriously. Like, he's kind of a huge noob. And they're like checking out. And he keeps trying to do add-ons. Like, oh, would you like this so-and-so?
Do you have a credit card with us? No.
No. Do you want to do... No. No.
Do you want an install? No.
And I'm like, no. And he goes,
like, huh.
oh, okay.
No install. And OJ's like, well, is it a hard install? He's like, not for me.
And
he's like, what do you need? He's like, well, these have backup batteries, like, so these aren't going to go out. Did y'all have burglaries or something? They're like, yeah. Also, like, our cell phones have just, like, fully shut off. Like, our summary.
he's like, essentially, that's not how cell phones work.
He's like, either your Wi-Fi drops or you lose bars, but your phone doesn't just shut off, unless you're dealing with, like, unless you're in, like, a UFO hotspot.
And they just stare at him?
And Keke goes, no one believes that. And they just kind of eye each other. And then the next shot, they're back at the ranch, and Angel's with them,
And
setting
his
the
like
shit up.
big Fry's Electronics van to help them, yeah. And first of all,
It's a really good moment. Like, the comedy in this, I will say, I think of the three...
This is the
short films,
funniest.
This one's
Yeah.
the funniest. This
this
one
is
has
the funniest yeah.
moments.
Between like this guy and Keke, like,
Oh, it's so
funny.
good.
And this guy is just such a hot mess. And he just got dumped, apparently. So he,
Yeah.
gets out of the van. He just goes, ah! And they're like, whoa, what's going on? He's like, sorry, I just got through a big breakup. And
Thought she was the one. And they're like, okay.
he's like an
You set the shit up.
overshare. Yeah.
Like, you just set this shit
He
up.
reminds me of my friend Travis, kind of. Something about it.
Oh,
yeah.
And then Keke, this moment made me laugh because Keke's like, okay, well, I gotta get to the store. And they're like, what do you mean? We just got there. She's like, yeah, but I gotta get more stuff. You need anything? And I was with Keke and I was like, what store?
She just randomly.
The store. So
Well,
she's leaves.
Because as we find out, she did not go to the
She
store.
does not go to the store. It's actually really funny.
So Angel sets up moving cameras on rigs so that they can be remote controlled to like swivel around.
Yep.
And they have very high quality night vision. And while they're setting it up, Angel is talking to OJ about aliens and conspiracies and how the government wants to keep everybody in the dark. And he's like, oh, they changed the name from UFO to UAP so that you can't search it as easily. And he's like, you should watch Ancient Aliens on the Discovery Channel.
Which, Ancient Aliens, great show.
Great
None of it's
show.
real. None of it's
Yeah.
real.
But I love that guy, like the guy with the crazy hair being
Yes.
like,
Aliens.
yeah. So Emerald shows up.
She has this fucking fake horse that she stole from
Juke's
Jupiter's.
Park. And it has like the flags hanging off of it.
Still, like,
Yeah.
she didn't rip off the flag. And it's so funny because they're in the middle of the field. They're going to use it as like a decoy.
Yeah.
And then Jupe shows up and they're like, stay. He's like,
you can stay right there.
he's like, oh, okay. He's like, oh, I see that training horse you got. And then they like, he's like yelling,
yeah, where'd you get yours? I don't know. I'll have to ask my wife.
She's kind of in charge of all of that.
Yeah. And
It's so good because she's just trying to be
she
like,
very clearly stole it.
yeah, like so obvious. Like,
She's like, so what can we help you with? And he's like, I wanted to invite you guys to our big new show on Friday. And then like
and then
he's
the flyer
holding
like
up the
blows
flyer.
out of his hands, and he's like,
Oh,
"It's at 5." And they're like, "Okay, thanks."
sounds good. And he's like, thumbs up.
Yeah, it's like really funny.
Thumbs up. They're like, should we do it? Yeah, let's do it. Let's all do it. And Angel continues to try and pry more info about their like UFO shenanigans, but they shoo him away. I love this moment where
He's like, well, my supervisor's gonna call and ask how my performance was. 5 stars, Angel. 5 stars.
it's so funny.
It's really good. And then we get horse card number 2.
Oh yeah, I forgot to talk about these title cards.
Yeah, so it kind of goes with each. It's kind of how the movie split up.
Mm-hmm.
Of like,
Every title card is it shows the name of a horse.
the first one was
With
Ghost.
Ghost. Yeah.
And the second one is, we now get Clover.
Clover. So we get one of my first favorite scenes in this movie. And it's that night. OJ is getting ready to go to bed. We see Emerald. She's watching Oprah, actually.
She lives in a trailer.
She lives in the trailer kind of outside. That's like her little vibe. And I like that there's this scene of Oprah is talking to a woman and we hear her say something like, well, I wish that I had ruby slippers I could click to go home. And The Wizard of Oz is a big allegory in this movie. There's lots of little like callbacks to The Wizard of Oz.
Well, Emerald.
And her name is Emerald. And Emerald is basically Dorothy, I feel like, watching this movie. I think that he wanted to evoke...
The big vibe is no place like home.
Yeah, because she wants to leave the ranch, and
But
it's
also
like,
to
it's
do
literally
an ode
Dorothy.
to blockbusters. Like movies that changed really like how people saw
Exactly.
films.
I think that... And The Wizard of Oz is known for being like a really cursed movie. Like, while they were filming it, so many people like got injured, and there were all these like tragedies that happened just for the sake of making this, movie. So I think it's important to keep The Wizard of Oz in mind when watching this, because it'll just remind you of all of the shit that we do for spectacle in our society.
Yep.
But yeah, so that's the first kind of like inclination that her character Emerald is evocative of Dorothy from The Wizard of Oz. But we'll get more into that later. So OJ notices that a light comes on in the barn.
Yeah.
So he goes out, turns off the light, starts walking away.
And the light turns back on.
He turns over, and there's an alien standing there by the light switch.
And it's kind of like weirdly like moving, like, and it's a little like short thing, and you're kind of like, but I will say
it's a little out of focus. You can't really see.
Yeah,
it.
you're kind of like squinting, like, what is
What
it?
is it? And when we saw this in the theaters, because again, I saw this movie opening weekend.
Yeah.
Everyone was freaking out during this scene. Because, like, this movie was marketed very much as an alien movie. So the whole movie, you're like, where are the aliens? And so, like, you see this first alien, you're like, ugh. And then another alien pops its little head out from behind the corner, and you're like, ah!
And he's like, no,
Yeah, he literally says, nope.
Nope.
And he starts to run, but then he's like, oh, wait. Let me see if I can get a picture, right? Because that's their whole goal right now. So he gets out. OJ would have like a flip phone. He doesn't have a smartphone.
Yeah.
So he's trying to take it on this blurry little flip phone. And the alien little head starts peeking out from behind the corner. And then jump scare, there's an alien right behind him hanging upside down. And he punches it in the face, starts running.
It
the
turns
alien
out
falls down.
It's the fucking Jupes kids.
Yeah, it's these little kids, these shitheads that work. I think, they're Jupes kids.
Yeah.
That work at the theme park. And they're dressed up as aliens because they know that Emerald stole their fake horse. And so they're like, don't fuck with Jupiter's claim.
Yeah.
And this is the first time of this movie subverting your expectations.
Yeah.
Because I remember the first time watching this being like, okay, here are the aliens. Da-da-da. Oh.
Yeah.
They're not aliens.
Yeah.
So then now what's going to happen? I think it's brilliant.
Yeah.
I love the way that this movie does that.
But then, later that night, Emma's watching the live feed, and she gets jump scared by a praying mantis that crawls in front of the camera lens.
Yeah.
Angel calls her and tells her that apparently he is now, like, monitoring them.
Yeah.
He's, like, hacked into their monitors. But also that camera 3 is down, and that the flying saucer
must be near because the power's out on that camera, yeah. So OJ brings Clover, the horse, in, and the horse can like sense something is near.
Yeah.
And it gets spooked and starts running. It runs away, and OJ turns, and he sees that fake horse that they were going to use as a decoy get snatched up into the sky.
Saucer.
Yeah. And like we see this big cloud, and OJ starts running, and the flying saucer comes out through the cloud, and Emerald's watching, and she's like, run, OJ, run! And OJ hides under the barn, as Clover, the horse, continues to run away.
Yeah.
And the flying saucer swoops by and snatches up the horse.
Yeah.
And every time it's like a kind of like a little twister, like a little tornado.
Yeah.
And again, that's evocative of the Wizard of Oz. Yeah.
And then Emerald is seen trying to get, like, the praying mantis off of the camera.
She comes inside after the whole thing happened. Because the praying mantis, like, is stuck on the camera right until the flying saucer finally, flies away. And then the praying mantis decides to, like, crawl off the camera. And she's like, fuck you! And she goes upstairs, she goes, that praying mantis better be praying I never see his ass again, or I'll eat that motherfucker next time I see him. But Emerald did get to see the saucer in person. So now she is, like, 100% certain that there is one.
And she, like, wants to
she's
leave.
freaked out. She's like, hell nah. Like, we need to get the fuck out of here. He's like, where? She's like, I don't know, but anywhere but here.
Yeah, I'm not saying here.
But OJ convinces her. He's like, no. You're right. Like, your initial plan to get footage of this thing, we need to do that. Like, that's going to save our farm. And he's just determined. And he eventually convinces her, okay, yeah, she needs to stay too.
Yeah.
OJ has a flashback of his dad talking about some of the horses.
Yeah.
And they're talking about a horse that's, like, hard, like, you know, been acting up. And he goes, I guess some animals ain't fit to be trained. And that ties into the theme of, or one of the themes, which is this weird obsession that we have of trying to tame wild animals.
Yeah.
It's, because this movie... after I first saw it, I was thinking about those. You see, there's like TikTok accounts or like Instagram accounts of people snuggling up with like wildcats and stuff. And they're like, look how cute. And I'm like, bitch, that's not cute. That's scary.
Yeah,
like, y'all
that's
need to be
gonna rip
careful.
you limb from limb.
Yes. Or like Siegfried and Roy.
Yes.
That whole incident with the tiger. Yeah, like, it happens too many times, and it's like, why haven't we learned our lesson?
Yeah.
You know. So the next morning, Emerald decides to call the famous cinematographer that they met on the set of that commercial.
This
Holst.
talk is kind of weird, but also kind of funny.
Yeah, okay, I'll say it now. I don't like this character of Holst.
Yeah, I think he's supposed to, in the sense of, like, Jaws representation, he's supposed to be the, like, captain.
The like, sea...
salty
sea dog.
Let me tell you about the time I was in World War II and we all got eaten by sharks.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
like, okay.
Yeah. Which is a great character.
Yeah,
I like him in
I think
Jaws.
that's how I think he's represent.
This character is just kind of weird and stiff, and I don't know. It doesn't work for me, but he represents, like, the perfectionist.
Yes.
And will do whatever it takes to get the perfect shot,
Yeah.
basically. And he gives her this whole speech about, like, how her dreams of fame will only lead to her, like, misery eventually. And
Yeah.
he's like, that dream you have, being up at the top, that's a nightmare that I never wake up from. And, like, shit like that.
Yeah.
And she's kind of like, okay, but can you help us? I mean, we're trying to get the impossible shot. And he goes, that's impossible. And she puts him on hold to like talk with OJ, and they're like bickering, but she didn't actually put him on hold.
Yeah.
She accidentally didn't, so he can hear them like cussing each other out. Which, again, really great moment of comedy in this movie. Anyway, he eventually hangs up, and he's editing. What is he doing? Like,
I don't know.
He's in this weird like greenhouse,
shit.
and he's editing like weird footage of like animals like hunting and stuff.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know. Suddenly,
I tried to pay attention to, and I was like, I can't tell what's going on.
Yeah, and he's got that voice, and just so monotone. Everything he's saying, it wasn't working for me. Suddenly, Angel shows up and shows them some crazy shit that he discovered monitoring their live feed. There is a cloud in the sky
that has not moved
for like 2 days straight. And this, like, really unnerved me. Like, because if you think about it, like, what if there was a cloud that didn't move in real life? It would be so easy to not notice that.
Yeah.
I don't know, like... And very clearly, the UFO, flying saucer, is chilling in the cloud.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
But then
Angel
OJ
Angel goes, is there really a spaceship up in that fucking cloud right there?
OJ says, what if it's not a ship?
We get a new title card that says Gordy.
Gordy, and we now learn what happened during that filming incident.
Yeah.
And so it's like a birthday party
For the chimp.
and there's kind of just seems like a normal sitcom being filmed. Like there's a mom character, having a dad, and then we see the young version of Jupe. And he at one point kind of stumbles a line, and they're like, "It's okay, just keep going." And he just, that's how sitcoms are filmed. It's just like if you mess up, you just go back and you just keep going, because they're gonna edit it in post. And
his character has an older teenage sister,
and she brings out like this big gift, and like I guess they're trying to show each other up on like who got the best gift for Gordy, who is the chimp, and she opens it, and a bunch of balloons come out, and they're like, "Oh my god, so cute, so cute!" And then
the balloon probably, I would assume,
got too close to the lights,
to the hot lights on
and
set,
it popped.
And then we hear cuts to black,
and this is another motif of Wizard of Oz balloons.
Yeah,
Hot air
because
balloon.
there's a hot air balloon, and there's several
and that
hot air
pop
balloons in this
leads to the monkey. We hear it then cuts, and we just hear the monkey kind of freaking out, and people are like, "Gordy, no,
Gordy,
no!" And then it just fully develops into like
we cut. Then there's this long panning shot, and you can hear like chaos and people running away, and it's now the set is empty. It's really eerie, and we're zooming through, and there's like these cameras positioned, and they kind of look like the little alien masks that the kids were wearing earlier. The way that the cameras, like the film reels on the camera is, and it pans over, and we see, and there's like there's a couch in the way of all the carnage, but we can assume what's happening is that the young actress is getting her face mauled off by this chimp.
Yep.
It's so scary. This is absolutely... This and another scene coming up is the scariest part.
This part was like unsettling, because this is something that like this actually happened. Not the movie scene, but
let's
this
get
happened
into it.
I think it was Florida a few years ago, like a decade or two ago. I was alive. It happened. This like woman had a pet chimpanzee, and they were doing like a birthday party. And the woman had, I think it was like an Elmo stuffed animal or something. It was like a character stuffed animal. It freaked the chimp out, and it mauled the friend's face.
Yeah.
And like, then she was on Oprah, and Oprah was like, "Can I look at your face?" And it was like, and she did it.
Oprah has no goof.
And it was just like,
it's so scary.
like it's a real event. It actually happened. They
Yeah.
shot the chimp. I keep saying monkey, and I know it's a chimp, and I'm sorry, y'all. It's just a force of habit.
Girl, we know what you mean.
Yeah, we kind of hear it like the girl like getting mauled, and then she like stops, but then he comes back.
Sounds are so scary.
And then like the dad like comes out.
Gordy, no!
And then he like we see like
The dad gets
because Andrew
killed.
Young's character, the young version of him is or Jupe is under the table, and he's watching it, so we see the dad like then run through like the front door of the set, and the chimp chase after him, and we hear him getting attacked and presumably dying, and then it comes back to the beginning the shots that we saw at the beginning of
the shoe sitting there standing up, right?
And Gordy coming in, sitting behind the couch and looking straight at Andrew or at young Jupe's character,
and there's a tablecloth hanging over.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a mesh tablecloth. So the chimp gets up really close. It's so scary because chimps just scare the fuck out of me.
Oh my god, they're not.
It's got blood all over its face, and it is looking at Jupe,
but it can't make direct eye contact
because there's that tablecloth covering its face, and Jupe is also fixating on that shoe to kind of
like don't look, don't look
to kind of
and
avoid
then the
making eye
monkey
contact.
puts out its fist like to do like a fist bump.
Because that's the chimp and Jupe's character on the show would do something called an exploding fist bump. So they would go psh, like when they put their fists together. And so the monkey reaches out
to like
fist
do it,
bump,
and he starts to go to do it.
and as
like,
soon as their fists touch, boom,
the monkey gets shot by a police
shot.
officer. The show
or a SWAT team or whatever the fuck. and blood sprays all over Jupe, and this kid is traumatized.
And then
for
we
the rest
cut
of his
to
life.
adult Jupe.
Definitely remembering this moment. And
Yeah.
like he has like a 30-yard stare.
But I think this is kind of like the reason he was kind of reminiscing about this is because that's his big like claim to fame, sadly. And I think he's now like, I have something new because he's preparing for his big show.
Big new show.
His big new show. And we're about to learn what this big new show was. And I think, again, this fits very much into Jaws because we're only halfway through the film now. And this is when like the big moment kind of happens, which is how Jaws is, where like the big attack happens halfway through the movie.
Yeah.
The big like traumatizing one that everyone thinks of with that movie.
Yeah. And his wife is preparing him. He's wearing this iconic red suit that's like bedazzled.
Yes, it's
It
like
has-
a nudie suit. It's a nudie suit.
Yeah.
Which is like the old like Western singers would
Western.
sing.
With
where would they sing?
a bolo tie.
Yeah, it looks so cute. He
On
looks
the back
so cute.
on the back of his suit jacket, it's a bedazzled UFO.
Yeah.
Did you notice that?
Yeah.
It's really cool detail. I love it. And he wears a big cowboy hat.
It reminds me a lot of Kesha Rainbow era.
Yeah.
Like, it's literally what it is. It's so good. It's
Yeah.
such a good, like, iconic look.
I love a Western look.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, same. I love a cowboy.
And the music, the score in this movie is very Western vibes.
Yes.
We forgot to talk about it.
Yes.
But this score reminds me of like John Williams scores, like the Jaws theme or the Indiana Jones
Yes.
theme or this Jurassic Park theme. Like it's very like
Adventure.
adventure.
It's not made to make you feel uncomfortable.
Yeah, it's not horror vibes.
Yeah.
It's more like
again, the horror vibes, I think that scene with the chimp is the
is the
scariest
part.
scene in the whole
100%.
movie.
And that's the scene that stuck with me for weeks after I first watched
Because it's
it.
just like creepy.
Yeah, I hate chimps.
You don't fuck with I don't fuck with them.
So we get another title card, and it says Lucky. And so far, every time there's been a title card for a horse or the chimp at one point,
You know they're gonna die.
they're going to die, right? So you're like, oh no, not Lucky.
Not
Because that's the
Lucky.
horse we've said the most times.
a lucky.
So OJ finds a flyer for Jupe's show and some horse poop. Because remember it had like flown out of his
Yeah.
hand earlier? And he says to himself, he's like, Lucky. So he's going to go and get Lucky back before it gets probably snatched by the UFO.
Yeah.
And Jupe goes out to the crowd and he puts on this epic show for friends and family, including, he calls her out, the actress who got mauled.
She's still alive.
She's wearing a veil over her head. She has like a t-shirt that is like Gordy's merch or like memorabilia of herself before she was mauled.
Yeah.
It's really sad.
Yeah.
I'm like, damn, I felt really bad for this chick.
Yeah.
And all of his family is there, and he gives this big speech
About how he has been visited by aliens.
He calls them the viewers.
Yeah.
And he says every Friday for 6 months at 6:13 p.m. Again, 6:13. That number comes up a lot.
Was that the verse? I think
It might have been the verse at the
6:13.
beginning. Yeah.
6:13.
He says, I have been seeing a flying saucer. It has come by and it has taken a horse. And he like pulls the curtain away and we see there's this glass box, this glass cage that Lucky, the horse, is set in
Yep.
to lure out the UFO. And we get this vibe that Jupe believes that he is special and like he has been like chosen.
Yeah, he thinks he's like tamed them, that like they're friends, they trust him.
And he did have like a special relationship with the chimp back in the day where the chimp, didn't maul him and wanted to give him a fist bump.
Yeah.
So I think that he has this like, oh, I'm special, like I'm the chosen one to
Speak with it, like
the aliens. Yeah, like
I can tame these untamable things.
yeah. And this character is, I don't know, so like
You kind of feel bad
so
for him.
tragic.
Like, I felt very bad for his character because he's kind of, I think they try, at least I remember in the previews, they try to kind of paint him as like the villain,
Yeah.
but he's not really villainous
No,
in any
he's-
of his intentions.
He's just very
I think it's he experienced this horrible trauma that his life is known for. Mm-hmm. And now he's kind of like, I have something new I could be known for that isn't traumatic. Yes, because I mean, it's a result. We'll see what happens. His desire for spectacle doesn't end well for him because all of a sudden that spaceship shows up a little early. And the wife is like, he's like, oh, it's showed up early. And the wife's like, it's giving us a real show today. He's like, oh, okay.
And it's got the flags hanging off of it.
And the wind starts whipping up.
The wind.
The music shuts off.
All these people are looking up. Even the woman in the veil, her veil kind of lifts up, so she's making eye contact with this thing. And we see from Jupe's perspective, as all the shadows of all the people are twirling around,
sucked in, and they're screaming.
All of these people get snatched up,
including
by the UFO.
Jupe.
And Jupe gets snatched.
And then we get this weird, like, scene where we're, like, inside the ship.
This to
we
me
see
is
the people, like, falling upwards as if they're getting, like, sucked in.
Mm-hmm, like a vacuum.
And then they're in this, like, really tight chamber.
And this is from the opening credits. This is the weird kind of shoot thing that we saw. It's so claustrophobic and
we see the people
horrifying.
Screaming. They're like on top. They're holding each other. Some people are holding each other's hands because we assume like when they're
just getting devoured, basically,
because
and, like,
we basically
crunched.
Because we see I think it's the wife. She looks up and there's a horse. Dead horse.
No, it's the fake horse.
Oh, it's the fake horse.
It's the fake horse with the flags wrapped around it. It's stuck up in the like throat of this. What we learn, this is a creature.
Yeah.
Just like OJ was theorizing earlier, this is our confirmation. Oh, this isn't a spaceship with aliens inside it. This is a huge kind of like stingray looking flying creature.
Yeah.
That is devouring people and sucking them up. When you make eye contact with it, it sucks you up.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, it cannot digest these people because it's choking on the fake horse.
Yeah. So these people are all stuck just screaming.
This would be such a nightmare. And there's
just,
blood
like,
everywhere. There's body parts everywhere. Everyone's getting crunched. Nightmarish. Just absolutely
because then
horrific.
It cuts from that
to OJ arriving at
see everyone just gone. Except
empty
for
theme park.
Lucky.
The horse is still chilling in
Lucky's like, hey girl, what's up?
Yeah.
And then the UFO comes back.
Uh-huh.
Because OJ, does he make eye contact with it at this point?
Well, no. He's like kind of hiding underneath the bleachers, trying to get Lucky to come out. But Lucky's staying put.
Yeah.
Because Lucky knows that creature is coming out. And so he starts to kind of look at the creature as it flies down.
Yeah.
But he leaps behind the bleachers, and then it just kind of like passes over.
Yeah, that's right. And then he waits until nighttime.
Mm-hmm.
Gets Lucky in the truck and starts to drive.
Because Lucky like just walks out to him like, "Hey, the creature's gone. Like we're good." The horse like has that kind of sixth sense to know that it's gone.
And then he calls M, telling her what he saw, and that it's not a bitch. This ain't a UFO. This is a monster.
This is a creature. It's an animal.
It's predatorial. And so Angel's there, and he starts to try and drive home, but his car stops working.
And his car is playing this song called "I Wear My Sunglasses at Night."
Yeah,
and I think that's a motif as to like
don't look.
Put your sunglasses on when it's nighttime because you don't want to make eye contact with this motherfucker.
And then he starts to hear
this creature
and screaming.
He runs back he runs back into the farmhouse with Emerald, and he's like, "No, shut the door, like get down." Because we hear as the creature starts to like descend upon their house,
and it's right above them because you just hear the people screaming.
So every time that the UFO was present earlier, we saw it like flying around when we thought it was a flying saucer. It was making this kind of whooshing noise, but now we know that's the sound of its victims screaming inside it.
Yeah,
it's not like a spaceship.
Yeah.
So then we get this really like cool ass scene where the creature starts like crunching all the people up.
Oh yeah, because you hear the screaming and then all of a sudden you just hear it stop. And you just hear like a crunch. We assume it just
wiped out all these people, and then it kind of shits out all of their blood.
Their blood and like their stuff that couldn't be like digested. Or
they're like non-organic material. So like pocket change and keys and shit and phones.
And that's how we learned what happened
to their dad.
Is it was shit. It was shitting out.
Yeah, it was kind of expelling all of the non-organic matter. And so the dad happened to look right up and make eye contact with it just as it was pooping out a nickel. Yeah. So we get this crazy cool shot of blood
running down the windows.
Oh, this was so cool. I love this kind of shit in scary movies. Like, you have this beautiful, like, traditional farmhouse, this quaint little farmhouse, and now it's just covered in blood. And it's so scary, and it's traumatizing to Emerald and Angel. No, OJ pulls up, and his car stops working, of course. The creature floats over his car, and he briefly peeks out of it, and we see it looming over him like a big umbrella with the kind of flags bellowing out from its, like, opening.
Yeah.
And he goes, nope. And then he quickly, like, shuts the door very smartly. And he waits it out, and we get a huge jump scare as the fake horse
comes. He finally got that fake horse out.
Windshield. Yeah, so that was kind of him, like, hacking it up.
Yeah. I also kind of wonder if, like, because that happened, it got even more, like, angry.
Yes, well, they talk about it. They say the
fake horse, like,
it has the creature now has a very negative association with those flags and with that fake horse. So that's how they use, well, we'll talk about it later, but that's part of the plan, is to use the flags to, like, deter the creature. So OJ waits in his car till the morning.
Yeah.
And the car turns on. So he's like, okay, well, I guess the creature is...
It's gotta be on.
Out of range, right? He starts pulling up to the house, but then the car becomes disabled again. So the creatures come back. So he sees the Fry's electronics van, Angel's van, up out of range from the creature.
Yeah.
So he motions for Angel and M to make a run for it, and he starts making a run for it. The creature swoops down on them, and OJ has this flashback to the horse, Lucky, on set earlier for the commercial.
Yeah, like, when don't make eye contact.
When it saw its eyes in that metal sphere and got spooked. So he puts it together. You cannot make eye contact with this creature. That's how it kills you. So he tells them, like, don't look at it. And he looks down. They avoid its gaze. And they're able to get into the van and escape. They go to Angel's place and immediately disassociate by putting on VR goggles.
Yes.
Which I thought was so funny. Let's literally tune out reality. And then they go out to eat at this burger joint, and OJ wants to discuss a plan to, like, get footage of this creature again. And they do not want to talk about it. Like, they're so traumatized.
Angel are like,
we just want to leave. But OJ is determined to do this and go back. And he's like, this will save the farm. Like, we have to. And again, he ultimately convinces Emerald and Angel to return with him and figure it out. Holst, the cinematographer guy, heard about all these people disappearing at the theme park, and he knows that that's in the same area that they're from. So he puts it together, there probably is something that, like, I need to get footage of out in that area, whatever area of California it is. So he appears on their doorstep, and he's super down now. He's very intrigued by what's going on, and he wants to help them film it.
This moment's really good, because he talks about, like, the camera he brought.
He created a crank-powered camera.
And Kiki's like, didn't I tell you this motherfucker would bring a
non-electrical camera? And they go, boom, boom. They do that hand clap, like, yeah.
Like, we got this, motherfucker.
It was so funny. And they're talking about it, and OJ
Yeah, this is, again,
decides
at
to-
this point, the entire dynamic of the film has changed.
Yeah,
The entire
from
end-
this point on, this is an action-adventure movie.
There's like, no more horror aspects.
Which is just like in Jaws, when they're like, okay...
After the little kid gets eaten.
Yeah, they're like, okay, well, let's make a plan to, like...
Go kill this
to
shark.
catch the motherfucker, and then it becomes like almost like a heist movie, kind
Yeah.
of. And they decide to name the creature Jean Jacket.
After an old horse.
It was Emerald's horse, the one that she wanted. And they develop this plan, and he comes up with this, or he gives them this whole speech of like, you can't tame a predator, you have to make an agreement with them, this and that. And they steal some wacky waving tube man.
Wacky inflatable arm flailing tube man.
Wacky waving
It's
inflatable
funny
arm
because
flailing
like she's
tube
like
man.
we see Kiki's character like outside the like park where they sell them, and we see them all get turned off, and she's like, "Good night, motherfucking manager," or like something like that.
Good night, security guard. Yeah. And they train the horse Lucky to respond to the wacky flailing tube man. Like, if it pops up, then that means go. That means move forward. We get this moment where they sit around the table and Holst gives this spooky rendition of the Purple People Eater.
Yeah,
This was
This
stupid.
is supposed to be kind of reminiscent of the scene.
In Jaws,
In
where
Jaws
he gives
with
like
the
the
drum.
really spooky like monologue.
Yeah, about World War II.
I didn't like this. This was not effective
Yeah.
for me. I
You didn't like this character.
I
You
don't
didn't
like this
and I kind of get it because he
character.
kind of just like I kind of forgot about him, and then he pops up, and you're like, oh yeah, you.
and then he pisses me off later, but we'll get there. So now it's time to do the plan. We get a title card that says Jean Jacket. And again, we're like, ooh, that means Jean Jacket's gonna die. Da, 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 da. So we know we're like in our final like act of the movie.
Yep.
Angel and Holst are set up under this like tarp with the camera. Emerald activates the tube men who they have like all lined
okay,
down
sorry,
the road.
kind of to go back, but
Oh,
now
sure.
if you kind of think about it, the title Lucky kind of it works for Jupe's character too, because he was lucky to survive what happened on Gordy's show. So if you think about it, he was the Lucky that died in the
that
last
died.
one.
Oh,
I just kind of got that. Everyone, I'm claiming this one as my own theory. I don't care what anyone has said before prior to this movie. Like,
you are a master. You have the
mind of a
master.
mastermind. What's that? I don't know, but I'm so creative.
Creative like that.
I'm gonna tell that one to Keaton later. I'm like, Keaton, I'm so smart.
Yes, you're the Gail Weathers.
Like,
of
think
drag.
about that. I mean, like,
Okay, Nancy Drew.
oh, okay.
Ugh.
Well, we are back to Jean Jacket, and Angel and Holst are set up with cameras, and they're under like a little like tent, so that they can't be seen, can't look up. Smart.
And Emerald activates the tube men, which are lined along the road to like. form
And
a
they're
path.
activated by like battery power, or like car batteries.
And they have little faces on them, which is
Yeah.
important. Little faces with eyes that
Yes.
can make eye contact. And they're actually going to use these to like lure the creature.
Yeah.
And OJ gets on Lucky and rides Lucky out, and they are using the dropping tube men that where the power goes out and it just kind of falls down to track where the creature is and if it's coming or not. But then here comes
Some motorcyclist asshole.
to just ruin their whole plan.
And he's from motherfucking TMZ.
TMZ.
So we already don't like him.
And he's got a silver helmet on.
And it's all reflective. And he's just being an ass to Kiki.
Oh yeah, because she's like, we're filming a Verizon commercial here. Can you please
so,
leave?
like, can you please leave?
And he gets out a big camera and is like pointing it at her and is like, do you know what's been going on out here?
Do
Apparently
you want to talk about Jupe?
there's UFOs or something being rumored.
Do you believe in the Great Flood theory?
Yeah, all this shit. She's trying to shoo him away.
She like gets on the walkie. She's like, "Shit, guys, it's TMZ."
TMZ, yeah.
And she's like warning him, like, "Don't go. Like,
Yeah.
stop driving. Like, do
You
not
do
drive."
not want to go out there.
And he's like, "Whatever. I'm gonna get this shot." And he starts going. And I think it's Angel is like, "What happens when you're driving 60 miles on an electric vehicle?"
And the power goes out.
And you hit a wall where there's no power. We see from a distance this motherfucker driving and just gets shot
off his motorcycle as it like powers out. And he like fall. You can tell like he probably like broke his leg or something
because we
he's
just
like,
hear him yell.
Ah!
And like OJ's kind of like hesitant, and they're all kind of like,
OJ, don't go out there. Don't. She's like, OJ, do not go out there and save this motherfucker.
Like he is not worth it.
But OJ's a nice person, so he gets on the horse and starts riding up to the TMZ guy and tries to save the dude.
He's like, you need to keep eye contact with me this entire time. And the dude's like, where's my camera, man?
Yeah, are you seeing this thing? And he's seeing the creature come out.
OJ sees in the reflection of his helmet the creature, and he's like, I'm sorry, man.
Yeah.
And he just
nice knowing ya.
And he gets on
the horse
Lucky
and rides
off, and that man gets sucked up, and we hear him screaming while he's inside the alien, and then he gets eventually like fully crushed and like eaten.
And Holst was reloading the film.
Yeah, he missed it.
So he missed the shot. So Jean Jacket appears again. OJ puts his hoodie up.
Which has little fake eyes on it.
Little fake eyeballs that they like sewed onto it. So there's this really epic chase scene as OJ like lures Jean Jacket down the road. This is the score is like really popping off here. It's like so adventure-y. And at the last second, he releases flags out behind him to deter the creature, because we've established, the creature has a negative connotation with the flag.
That's gonna.
So the creature's like,
esophagus.
like yeets back, and they're able to get a perfect shot of the creature. And they're all super excited. I'm like, we got it! Yes, we're gonna be rich. But then Holst pulls some motherfucking bullshit. And this shit pisses me the fuck off.
Oh, yeah.
He's all like, well, it's gonna be golden hours soon. And, with the lighting, we could really get a good shot. Like, he starts becoming like a perfectionist and wants to get another shot. He's like, oh, but the lighting,
Again, this is this desire for spectacle.
Yeah.
We'll kill
you. Because he goes up with that camera, he takes it with him, and he's cranking it, trying to get a perfect shot. He looks right up as the creature descends upon him, and he goes, oh, perfect, and is like it is the perfect shot right up into the mouth of the creature. Yeah. But then it's not going to account for anything because this motherfucker just gets snatched up into the creature.
Well, that's the thing. He even says the perfect shot is impossible to get.
Yeah, and
he got it. He got the impossible shot, but it results in him being killed.
And it sucked up their footage that they did get with him. Yeah. So they're like, "Fuck!"
We could have cut that with us. Cut that out.
Just leave it for us. Yeah, asshole. Exactly. But I hate that character.
His desire. And what's funny? So every character, or every time people get snatched up, we hear screaming. There's no screaming from him being inside the creature.
Yeah, he just kind of like let it happen
because he finally got what he wanted. He got the perfect shot. So he was satisfied in his life, so he's not going to scream because he's like, if I'm going to die, I did what I needed to do at least.
Yeah.
Nobody can say I didn't do it.
It'd be a fucking crazy ass way to go, though.
Oh, absolutely. Like, no thank you. But...
No thanks. So then the creature starts to encroach on Emerald. And it starts to kind of snatch her up. But then she's able to look away, and it throws her back down. Yeah. And she, just narrowly avoids getting snatched up. Then the creature starts to go in on Angel, and he very smartly wraps himself in a tarp covered in barbed wire. So it starts to suck Angel up, but then it, starts to get all prickled.
Poked, and so it spits him out.
So it spits him back out. And then it starts to transform and morph into this kind of weird jellyfish shape to kind of get them to look at it. Like, look at me. And it's whole Jean Jussie. It's just hanging
Oh my god, she is. But she went from she was a slave queen to cunt.
Oh, she's serving punch. She's got wings. She kind of looks like a biblically accurate angel.
But like jellyfishy.
But oh yeah, it's so cool. And the CGI, I talk about how I don't like CGI on this pod a lot.
It's good.
This, you can tell the budget was correct with this movie.
Yeah.
Because it looks so convincing. Yeah. And I love the design of this creature. It's really scary. I've never seen anything like it before. It's hard to describe. It kind of looks like it's made out of like silk too. Like it's Jean Jussy for lack of a better word.
It's really beautiful. Like,
its puss is like, it has like a weird like kind of looks like the shutter of a camera.
Yeah.
Which I think adds to the whole allegory of like the media and Hollywood. And
it's like this perfect square. It's really cool.
Super, super cool. All different colors too. And Emerald gets on the TMZ guy's motorcycle, and her and OJ
they're
make
on opposite sides of like this creature.
The creature. And it's clear what OJ is going to do.
Like he's gonna sacrifice
himself to save his
sister. And she's like yelling at him like, no, like get out of here, like you gotta go. And he does the eye thing that he did.
I'm watching you. I started to tear up.
Yeah.
Both times that I've seen this movie now, this scene was really emotional for me.
Because it's like, I mean, you really love their dynamics together. Like, they're the two you're rooting for the whole time.
And Keke is so sad, and like she's such a good actress. Like, I'm so glad like this movie gave her like a character that has a huge range to portray.
Yeah.
Because you really buy like her devastation, knowing like, oh my god, like my brother is sacrificing himself to save me. Crazy. And he makes eye contact with the Jean Jussy and draws it over to him.
Yeah.
So now she's out of range and her motorcycle will work. And so she drives away.
And it turns around.
It turns back around. And we saw like there was like a big kind of twister tornado thing. So we're like, damn, OJ's dead. That sucks. It starts chasing Keke all the way to the theme park.
Yeah.
She does this sick ass like slide away from the camera on the bike. And I thought it's funny because in her speech at the beginning of the movie, she was like, I even do motorcycles. So like it ties into that.
But it's cool. That shot is actually, so that famous like, because we kind of talked about this film earlier, not on the podcast, but when me, you, and Keith were talking, the film Akira, which is...
Oh, the animated film?
That animated film. That is where that shot of like that famous motorcycle skid, that's from that movie. That's been recreated in so many films.
Oh, that's so funny.
Like that's the origin of it.
Well, I think Jordan Peele has said he's a big anime fan.
I think, which if you're an anime fan, that's probably a film you're a fan of. So that's probably where I wouldn't be surprised if he took that as like a little ode to Akira.
I'm sure it was. Yeah, so, that's cool.
But yeah, that's like, I just think that's a fun thing about that shot. But I mean, that shot's also been redone, so he could have seen it in something else and been like, but it's like the origin of that is Akira.
It's sick. I mean, Keke Palmer, and you can tell she did her own stunts.
Yes,
I mean,
it was really
Again,
cool.
what doesn't she do? She's amazing.
But then she runs to
that wishing well camera.
And she starts untying a bunch of...
it's a big... balloon that is shaped like Juke's character from Kid Sheriff.
Yeah, so
and it's him like giving a wink and a thumbs up.
So it's like a person.
And she sends it up into the heavens.
While she's doing it, she's like, "This is gonna fuck you up.
This is gonna fuck you up."
And then she gets a bunch of coins and she starts to use that
wishing well camera because it's pointed up at the sky.
Yep, and it's a crank.
So she sent the balloon right above her. So Jean Jacket is gonna fly because it's distracted now by this big human-shaped balloon, and she has to time it perfectly to get a snapshot right as Jean Jacket flies over ahead.
Yep.
It's a really tense scene. You're like, is she gonna make it? Is she gonna do it? Because she tries it a couple times and it's too early, and then finally she's like, right now,
and it
gets the perfect shot.
The alien or the beast sucks up the balloon and it flies off, and then
there's so much pressure
from the helium in the balloon. It blows up the alien from the inside.
Or I guess we don't know if it's an alien. It could have
the monster.
I think
your theory is that it's just a creature
that's just been chilling
in the clouds. Because I think you brought a good point of like, we have so much like of the ocean unexplored how do we know that there's not shit in the sky that we haven't ever seen? And I'm like,
Yeah.
because you also brought up, everyone will be like, we have this idea of like UFOs are real, or like people have seen UFOs. How do you know you saw a UFO and you didn't see some flying monster?
Squid monster, or whatever the fuck. Yeah, exactly.
So that's cool. And so it blows up and is like, it's all
She
good.
goes, nobody fucks with Haywood, bitch.
Yeah, she falls over. It's over. She's relieved, and the media
there's a
and
big,
the police show up.
Like, it's almost like a giant-sized Polaroid that comes out of this machine. Again, perfect shot of the creature.
Perfect shot.
And we see...
so we're like, she got the shot. She's gonna get her money.
And you're like, well, damn, but like her brother.
And we see
Guess
this
what?
dust cloud fading away. And OJ and Lucky are there. They made it. So the three made it, because we know Angel also survived. He's probably out in the field still
chilling
somewhere.
Yeah. And this ending of this movie makes you feel so
good. Which I think all of Jordan Peele's, maybe not us as much. Us is a little unsettling.
Yeah, us made me like, oh shit. But yeah, this one makes me feel
This one is a really good feel good.
I cried. Like, and the beautiful Western music.
Yes, it's a really well done. Well, that's also, I think the call out to Western is also not just because of like the black jockey being like the original
Stuntman or whatever,
but cowboys were traditionally black.
Exactly.
Like,
yeah.
Or like,
and they're like
people love what people's assumption
rarely
is
represented as black.
As black, exactly.
Yeah.
So I think that might have been a big reasoning for doing a lot of that
all
too.
the Western stuff.
The Western theming.
But that music, that Western music really tugs on your heartstrings.
Yeah.
And again, their relationship, their brother-sister dynamic is the heart of this movie.
Yeah.
And I think by the end of the movie, Emerald realized there's no place like home. Like, this is where I need to be.
Yeah.
I need to stay with my brother.
Yeah.
He's right. We need to save the farm.
Yeah. But now they can, because the alien's gone.
And they got the perfect picture of it.
So they're going to get all their money back.
So they're going to get it. And
they could probably get all their horses back from Jupes, because the ones that are alive, I guess.
Yeah. Oh, and we didn't talk about it, but that's why earlier Jupe was like, oh yeah, totally, you can buy your horses back. Because he had already sucked them up into the alien, yeah. But
they're all getting eaten.
Yeah, such a great feel-good movie. I love Nope. It's that summer blockbuster feeling of the spectacle.
Yeah.
And you just feel so excited. Like, oh, I went to the movies and I saw like a real blockbuster.
Like something really fun. Like,
yeah.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, and this movie did do that. It did succeed.
Yeah, he succeeded because it was like...
Not only was it one of the most successful films of that year or most acclaimed, it's now like considered one of the best sci-fi movies of all time.
I think it was the most grossing original movie since Us. So he like outdid himself.
Yeah.
Which is really cool.
Yeah, it's amazing. And it's a fun one. I am still going to say, of the three, it's just not my favorite. But it's still a good movie.
Yeah.
Like, all of his films are great films. It's just, we kind of talked about this. It's a weird thing that we kind of compare his films, but it's just kind of a thing we do.
Yeah, which is, we talked about why we feel like that's necessary last episode. And it's like, that's not fair. Like, we don't do that to any other director. But I think it's just because he's got such a cool... He builds such a cool universe in each movie. It's fun to... And talk about, oh, maybe they're connected somehow.
Yeah.
And he's such a fabulous director. And I'm so excited for his new movie that's coming out. He just announced.
Yeah, a few years.
Yeah, we got a couple years to wait, but the hype is going to be well worth it, I'm sure. He's great. It's been so fun to dive into all of his movies the past couple weeks.
Absolutely.
He's truly a visionary and...
Definitely... one of the best directors right now.
And he's 3 for 3 in my mind.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, I enjoyed this one. It's a fun one. But yeah, I think my ranking is Us, Get Out, Nope.
Okay. All right.
And I think that's even controversial, because I know a lot of people like... But I mean, that's the thing. I feel like any opinion is kind of controversial.
Yeah, because
also, I think
any opinion is valid. They're all so good.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, mine's still like... Get Out, number 1, and then...
Nope and Us are
tied for second place. Yeah, exactly. Okay, well, that has been Jordan Peele June.
This was our shortest one, too, which is funny, because it's the longest one. But I think that's also kind of one of the reasons that this isn't my favorite, is there isn't as much to talk about.
True, yeah. I mean...
I feel like everything's very much like, That's what it is. Like,
if you didn't gather it, like
there's not as much like theorizing.
The creature is supposed to be metaphorical of how Hollywood chews you up and spits you out,
which we kind of see what happens with them in the very beginning of the film, where they're on this set, and even though they were doing everything, like they told them, like, don't stand behind the horse, don't do all this shit, they still did it. And even though they did nothing wrong, they still just got kicked out on their asses.
Everyone gets treated like shit in Hollywood.
Yep.
Especially I feel like if you're in the like crew aspect, behind the scenes aspect,
they don't give a fuck about you.
They don't give a fuck, yeah. But yeah, I still think, strong theme, just for a Jordan Peele movie, the theme isn't at the forefront. Of how it normally is.
Yes.
Yeah. This one was way more focused on just
the story, the adventure.
Really feel-good adventure movie. Yeah. Okay, so
that has been
Jordan Peele June. Now, as one series ends,
another begins.
This
one I'm so excited for.
So here in a couple weeks, a film that we've been very highly anticipating is going to come out, and that movie is called Maxine.
But 3 X's.
And I cannot wait to start the X series. We're going to do X this next week.
And then Pearl after that. And then we will do Miss Maxine. You love Pearl.
I love Pearl.
You're so excited to talk about
Pearl. Pearl is one of my absolute favorites. It's up there with like Carrie and all these Jordan Peele movies as some of like my all-time favorite.
Yeah, so I'm very excited to do all that.
And as soon as Maxine comes out, that should be in line to where it'll be X next week, Pearl the week after, and then we can do Maxine.
Yeah, so Maxine, it might be a little bit, our notes might be a little bit not as
detailed as they normally are, because we can at least give our like thoughts and give it a review.
We'll remember the plot, and I'm sure it'll be up on places for us to read like a general plot.
Yeah, we'll probably have to refer to like the Wikipedia.
Yeah, which is fine. Summary. But we'll do it.
Yeah, because I just can't wait.
Yeah,
and the trailer looks so good, and Mia Goth, oh my god, she's amazing. And the director Ty West, they did such a good job with the first 2 movies. Can't wait to dive into it.
Yeah.
All right, Stevie, is there anything else you wanted to add before we sign out?
No, I
for
think
Jordan Peele June.
It was a fun time.
It was fun.
Well, thank you all so much for joining us today on Let's Scream. We hope you had a fun time with us at Jupiter's Claim.
Yes, please remember to follow the pod, like the pod, and leave a glowing review of the pod, of course.
And don't forget to send us your favorite movie requests for future episodes. You can also follow us at Let's Scream Pod on Instagram and Let's Scream Pod on YouTube. And you can follow me at Stevie Nash 95 on Instagram.
And you can follow me at Parker_Will_C on Instagram. And until next time, this has been
Let's Scream.
Bye.